I have so much fun talking to people. I think people are fascinating. They're interesting. I like talking to people. And if you can't get your head around that and have fun with this, you're going to quit. You're going to quit every time.
Yep. It's not about me. It's not about Jerry. It's not about you guys. It's about the seller. And when you can genuinely convey that, you'll realize your questions start changing and it starts to change the answers and the trajectory of the conversation.
Welcome back, guys. This is video 2 in the How to Be a Real Estate Closer series that I'm doing with Daniel Quijano. Daniel, thank you for being back here with me on this video. Guys, I'm really excited about what we're going to be doing on this video and some subsequent videos. We're actually going to take a live call I did in a competition that Daniel put on over in the SUBTO community. It was called the Closers Octagon.
Yep.
And it was a group of, what was it, 10 people maybe? Something like that?
Yeah, 10 that made it. 200 or so tried out. Only 10 made it.
Okay, and I was one of them, and it was basically you got leads and you called all day long. There was a judge that was listening to you. People could come into a room and listen to you on the phones, and then there was a grading scale, and so it was a competition to close deals. And so I've got the call recordings on some of the deals that I did and some of the calls that I did. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up one of those calls right now. We're gonna listen, and as we listen, we're gonna pause. We're going to talk about what just happened, why that just happened. Daniel's going to critique me maybe or give me feedback. I'm going to explain why I did what I did and make this just a really good learning experience on a real call with a real seller. And so I'm pretty excited about doing this because I think it's, I love moving out of theory and going into application because I think that's how people learn the best. And so we're going to do that. Now, what I also want to do is I want Jeff pull up on the screen here as we go through this the 5 tonalities that I do when I ask questions. And again, just so you guys know, it's curious, it's confused, it's challenging, it's cheerful or playful. And I always miss one. Let me look at my notes real quick, which one I'm missing. Curious, confused, concerned, and concerned. So a concerned type of question. And so as I go through and you hear me ask questions, I want you to, we'll stop and pause a little bit, but I want you to pause at home watching this and say, okay, what kind of question was he asking there? What was his tonality? Was he confused? Was he cheerful? How was he doing it? So that you can start to see what this looks like and feels like in real life. Yep. Okay? So without further ado, let's jump into one of these calls.
I'm excited.
Okay, it's an 18-minute call. And so this is gonna be a long video because we're gonna stop and talk about it, but let's just go right in this. Now, to set the context, you gotta understand where these leads are coming from, because the way that I approach my initial introduction is very strategic based on the lead type.
Yeah.
Okay, so these were PPL, pay per lead.
Okay.
So what happened here was, what's the company that, you remember?
REI Conveyor Belts.
Okay, REI Conveyor Belt. So what happened is they did, I think, probably Google Ads. They got is that right?
Yeah, they have a number of different things. They had PPLs, but then they also have a call center where they do about 3 million dials a week.
Okay, so these leads were warmed up.
Yep, they were warmed up.
So they had already had a call with somebody. Somebody said, yes, I want to sell. They compiled some notes and then sent those leads over.
Correct.
So remember, this isn't their initial conversation about selling their house. It's their second conversation. That matters because the way I'm going to approach the call is going to be very different than if it was like, I'm cold calling somebody. So it's important that you know that listening to this, because you're going to be like, whoa, why did you start out the call like that? That's not how I would start out a call. And hopefully we can capture this audio.
Hello, is this Johnny?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Hi, Johnny. How are you doing, sir? Thanks for calling back.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I was calling you about your property on Baylor Boulevard. You still looking to sell that?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. We're looking to buy right now. Hopefully we can help you out.
Okay, so initially I said, I'm calling for so-and-so about this property. Are you still looking to sell this property? Now, that would not be how you would start a cold call conversation. So I just want to maybe set the tone here, confirming. So what I like to do when I get like a pay-per lead or an inbound lead, and now I'm calling that lead, is I want to start out really by just being very direct. Are you this person? Is this your property? Are you still looking to sell? Any thoughts on that, or is that pretty straightforward?
No, I think it's straight to the point. I like that you ask them the question. It's going to open up the conversation and kind of go from there. Yeah.
Okay, now watch what I do. That's very different. Not a lot of people do it this way.
What are you hoping to get for this property?
Okay, so guys, we're in the first 18 seconds and I'm asking price. Now, what do you think about that?
I love it.
Okay.
Elephant in the room.
Okay.
Guys, you're going to talk about the price. There's 2 scenarios where I want to have it. I'm going to either ask it right away when they bring it up in the conversation, or I'm going to redirect when they ask me, what's your offer? Right? I'm going to say the exact same thing. If they say, oh, what's your offer? I'm going to say the same thing you said right there. It's the elephant in the room. Just get it out of the way. It's going to have to happen.
And remember, these are people that raised their hand. They already talked to somebody. They said they want to sell. Why am I not asking what's the price you want? You've already said you wanted to sell, so what's your price? Now, this sometimes gets a great response and sometimes it doesn't. Again, the seller might be savvy and be like, well, but I don't make it awkward. So this is where people are like, man, you're asking the price right out of the gate. That's awkward. I'm uncomfortable doing that. Don't I need to build some trust first? It's not that you can't ask price later or build rapport first. It's not that that's bad. But again, time is money to me. And they've already said they want to sell. They've already identified themselves. I kind of want to get right to it with somebody. Because if they're like, if what they want and they're unrealistic and we're not going anywhere, I'd rather find out about that sooner than later.
100%.
I'm trying to be in the range of 260 to 265.
Okay.
Look at that. You just
said,
said 10, 15 minutes of babbling on about random stuff.
Yeah.
Now you guys are at the nuts and bolts.
We're at 22 seconds in and he says, I want to be at 260 to 265.
Yeah.
He just told me his number.
One of the rules that I say, and there's a lot of approaches you can have. I did an intro training in my community. It was a 2.5-hour training on intros. And the 2.5-hour training was about the first 10 seconds of the conversation. Yeah. Why? Because it matters. It sets the trajectory of the entire conversation, or if you even get to have a conversation. And what I always say is you want that conversation to be 5 to 10 seconds max. That intro needs to be 5 to 10 seconds. You're 20 seconds in, and you already have a number.
I already have a number.
Right.
Now, I don't know if it's a good number, but the seller just told me the number he wants, right? So that's how powerful I think this is. Don't be afraid to ask price. Okay.
260 to 265. Okay. What has you thinking that number? I'm just looking at Zillow, and Zillow's calling it 203. I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
Okay. So remember our questions. Which one would that be if you're listening to this right now?
Confused?
Confused. Yeah. And so what did I do? Now, what I do every time I call on a property is I pull up Zillow. And I'm just looking at it. Now, you'll see I do other things with what I gather on Zillow. But what was the question I asked? I said, okay, you're at 260, 265. Zillow's saying it's worth 203. Where are you getting your number? Now, guys, we're 33 seconds in, and I'm challenging him, like, where are you coming up with your number? Now, I'm not being too aggressive right now, but I have no rapport. I haven't built trust, anything. I'm just trying to be real. Like, dude, you want 265 and I'm seeing 203. You called us that you want to sell your house. All right.
Yeah, I got another one. It's called X Homes, and it's pricing it at 280.
It was appraised, you said?
No, it's pricing at 280. And then I had it appraised not last year, but.
So let me stop right there. He said I had something valued at 250 and it kind of cut out of him.
It sounded almost like he said he had a different property maybe?
I think what he was saying is I came up with a value at 280 somewhere, even though Zillow called it 203. Now again, Zillow doesn't mean they're right, but it's just a number that's given it a value.
Well, here's what I love about this. It's confusing. Not everything's going to be a perfectly laid out conversation where they're ready to, things are going to pop up.
So then he says, oh, and I had it appraised. So let's hear about this.
Well, yeah, last year, we're in the new year. And it appraised for 250.
250. Okay.
So think about this, guys. If you're gathering information, it appraised for 250. I want 260 to 265. Okay. Now, most people would be like, this is not a deal. This is actually one of the contracts I got.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
50, but I'm trying to get at least 260, 265 because I'm trying to get some land and have a little extra money on us to do some stuff we got to do to it.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So he says, I want to buy some land. Okay. So guys, remember, you're gathering information. Now, I'm listening and I'm thinking, as he says things, I'm gathering information, and then I'm going to tailor my questions using one of the 5 tones. Okay.
Let me ask you, have you thought about
payment life?
What's that?
Just trying to get out of the payment life.
Oh, okay.
Now that changed everything. I was about to ask a question, and guess what he said? I'm just trying to get out of my payment. What is that triggering?
I mean, like right there, like that's the pot of gold.
It's the pot of gold.
That's the pot of gold. I mean, all you have to do is you need to intentionally listen. I'm assuming you're going to do the same thing, but in my head, now that's the road I'm going down, and I'm painting the picture as to why I actually have your perfect solution.
Yeah. So guys, if you don't know creative financing, then you're limited on what you can do right now. So guys that just do low cash offers, they would have missed that. This would be a no deal. Not even close.
Because that's his pain.
His pain is I'm trying to get out of my payment. That's a sub 2. He's got a mortgage payment that he wants to get out of. So I was about to ask a question. He said something. I said, wait, what? He said, I'm trying to get out of my payment. Now watch where I go with it. It's all about the questions at the right time.
Guys, I've not listened to this call. Pay very close attention here because this is where a lot of people, this is where we talk about having a good foundation, but then being able to get away from the foundation for a second to follow focus on the conversation you're having. Because if your goal is to help people, the best way to help them is to listen to them and then say, okay, well, if the most important thing to you is payment, why am I going to talk about these low cash offers? This is not a cash offer conversation. It's a payment conversation.
I completely moved away from a cash offer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What's your payment on it?
It was 17, but I paid a lot to my escrow account this year, so I went down to 15.
Well, I mean, what's your balance owed on your loan?
Oh, I owe about 210 on it.
Okay. So you guys catching this? I want 260, 265. I owe 210. So now I know his principal balance. And he said, I want to get out of my payment. And his payment's $1,500. So I'm going right down sub 2 now. Okay. So again, now that you understand the strategy, now I can ask the right questions. But you got to have enough of a foundation to ask the right question. Okay.
Hoping you can sell it, pay off your loan, and put a little cash in your pocket.
Correct.
Okay, so I asked a question. Are you hoping to sell it, pay off your loan, and put a little cash in your pocket? Again, I'm trying to understand. I'm confirming. He said, I want to get out of the payment. Okay, so is what you're trying to do, sell it, pay off your loan, and get a little cash in your pocket?
And I see that you had it listed for 270 and 245, 225, 215, and then removed a couple months ago.
Yeah, because
Okay, so what's the question there? Now I'm on Zillow. And what did I see on Zillow? It was active. He was way up here. He did a bunch of price drops, and then it was removed. So this is me listening now. I'm on Zillow. I'm trying to understand what this guy's doing. He was asking over retail, he gave me the appraised price. He's asking over that. It didn't sell. So he now is an expired listing.
I want to take a second to talk about something that's really important. I've seen this a million times in just our coaching calls, right? And it's a really bad habit I noticed that people get into. I'm going to ask you a question. I've never asked you this before. I'm pretty sure I know the answer. How much time do you take researching a property before you dial the phone number?
20 seconds.
Okay.
30
So you're not doing a full underwrite and review and going back and forth and looking the history.
Not that there's a whole lot wrong with that. But again, I got to get through calls. And if I'm spending an hour on comping and stuff like that, I'm only going to do 5 calls today.
That's it. And that's one thing I really, really strongly encourage people. Just get on the phone, right? Because the stuff that Jerry's doing, you can do on the call. Yeah. All of the research that you think you need to know is probably actually more powerfully deployed live, right? So what do I mean? If I'm doing a bunch of research in advance and then I'm having the conversation, okay, well, I just spent 20 minutes researching a call that may not even answer.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yes.
You've done that, or I actually already sold that. It's just not updated. So it's just like, don't do that. But here's the more powerful thing. When you're sitting here, it's powerful to have a natural, real reaction to what you're seeing. So when the seller says, oh, well, this is what happened, well, I'm looking at this, I can naturally respond and say, well, that's interesting. I'm looking here, and it says this happened. You don't realize the value in having those authentic conversations live in the moment because it just sounds authentic and people react differently to that.
Yeah, definitely. So I asked him, I said, well, I see you were listed, did a bunch of price drops, then removed it. And so let's hear his response.
We had a buyer coming in at 250,
250?
and then 250, and then that just that fell through. And then I never heard from the people I was trying to get to sell the house, so I just said.
No, we both think the same thing when he says that.
Okay, so guys, what would you do right now? So I'm so curious. I hope you guys are like trying to follow here. If you were in my shoes right now, and he says, we got an offer, we had a buyer for 250, and they fell through. Now, what he goes on to say is, I think,
is there a way to do like a poll in the live so people say, what would you do here?
Pause right now and think, what would I do with that information? How would that be helpful? Okay, so automatically, here's where I went with it. You got a 250 offer that you accepted. That means you are okay to gross 250 and net after commissions and closing fees and a 210 mortgage. You're only walking away with a handful of cash. Watch how I hyper focus on that.
Hey, just take it off the market because y'all ain't helping me out.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You don't have it with an agent anymore, right?
So I confirm it's not listed because I don't want to be dealing with,
Yeah.
I can't compete if it's listed.
Sure.
I got to talk to the agent, right?
Yeah.
So I ask, is it still listed?
No, just
Okay.
not knowing anything.
Okay, I got an idea for you. This might fit really well with what you're looking to do.
Now, one thing about that too is I always say this might, because I don't know. I got to underwrite it. I got to whatever, but I might have a solution for you that's a good fit.
I use those exact words. I almost never speak in definites because even if somebody, I know this is a deal, right? And this is a home run. I'm not gonna say, oh, great, congratulations. I can buy this house. I'm not doing that.
No,
right?
because they're going to feel like they left money on the table.
That's exactly it. So I don't care if I'm jumping up and down on the inside. I'm gonna say, you know what? Let me run some numbers. Let me see.
Let's say that 250 offer came through. Like, let's just say that they went to closing, right? You would have paid around $25,000 in closing fees because you're going to pay six to an agent, right? To the agent, another couple $1,000s to closing fees and so on, maybe more like $8,000, but so you probably pay about $20,000. So at 250, you really net 230 and you owe 210. So you would have walked with 20.
You guys see the math? See what I did? I just reversed what he willingly accepted. He accepted 250, which means he's walking with 230, which means he owes 210. So at closing, if that deal would have happened, he'd have walked out of there with 20 grand. Meaning he's okay to make 20 grand on the deal. We just did the math.
It's just the math.
Numbers, right?
Sometimes you just got to say it out loud because people make decisions without really thinking it through, and sometimes saying it out loud. That's actually one of the best ways to overcome objections sometimes is just to repeat back what they said out loud so they hear how it sounds.
I do it multiple times.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure they're following, especially with creative finance. I'll walk through it again and again until I know they get it. Okay, so guys, think about where we're going with this. I'm going sub 2. But does this seller understand sub 2? High chance not. So how do I explain this in a way to where he gets it? But guess what my offer is going to be? You guys that understand creative, guess what my offer is going to be? $20,000 cash at closing.
There you go.
He was willing to take that. So listen to how I tailor that.
If that deal went through, right?
Correct, yeah.
Well, I got an idea for you that might work. What if I just paid you $20,000 at closing? It's what you would have got anyway. But then rather than come up with all the money and a new loan and go to my investors for cash and all that, what if I just took over your payment?
Pause. So guys, pausing is a huge thing too. I see this in sales a lot where people are so nervous that the awkward silence is a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. An awkward silence is powerful. Just ask the question and wait. Let that seller.
There's a saying, and if you guys are old school salespeople or ever done any hardcore sales, you've heard this line. It says, "He who talks first loses."
Yeah.
I mean, it's the law of it. And to reiterate what you said, silence is uncomfortable, but it is a superpower. You gotta play with that silence because here's the thing: silence is the great equalizer. It'll get all of that stuff out. If you fill the silence, then they're not going to be the one that's opening up or asking right? You need to let them have that experience.
Yeah, because all you're doing now is steamrolling and they're going to say, and do they really comprehend? You don't know because you're not allowing them time.
And if you went through all the trouble of asking a really good, powerful question and then you let them back out of having to answer it, well, then what's the point of the powerful question? Let them answer it.
So I know there's a good chance that he's not comprehending what I just said, but I'm asking for comprehension and I'm waiting and allowing him time to think.
Because you get the 20 still. So I would pay you $20,000, and then I would just take over your loan of $210,000. And then I take full responsibility for the property, so taxes, insurance, all of it. I give you $20,000 at closing. I pay the closing fees, and you get to walk away from the property.
So basically, y'all just So you just
So now, because I allowed him to think, he's like, so and now he's asking me a question.
Yeah.
So now I know he's trying to understand. He didn't just shut it off.
Yep.
So he didn't just close it down. He's trying to understand, right? But guys, we're less than 4 minutes in.
take my lease over, basically.
Okay, so he said, so you'll take my lease over. Now you're gonna get weird stuff from sellers. So I'm just calm about stuff, right? So listen, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Well, I take over your loan because you have a loan.
My loan.
Yeah, you have a loan
Yeah.
for 210. Yeah, you have a balance on your loan for 210, right?
Well, at that time it was 210. I don't know what it is. I can look to see what it is now, but it was. It came down a lot because my interest is 2.65, so a lot of it doesn't go to.
So I don't care if it's 209 or 2. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? But he's just trying to be specific.
Yeah, you got a great interest rate. So see,
Oh,
that's
you
why
missed
this
that.
would make a.
Okay, I was talking. He said I have a 2.6 interest rate.
That's insane.
That's like a creative finance person's wet
Yeah.
dream right there.
100%.
2.6 rate.
100%.
2.6
Yeah.
rate. 2.6 rate. Like, guys, 2.6?
That's it. Enough said.
That's why this would make a lot of sense for me, because if I buy your house and I come in with new financing, I'm going to be paying a whole lot higher than 2.65 interest.
Correct. Yeah, you're gonna be like 5, 6.
Yeah.
Interest.
So then I got to buy your house for way cheaper to offset the high interest. But if I can take over your loan, then I can pay the 250, and it's the same as if you sold it for 250 with a real estate agent, because you're going to walk away with 20. So I'll just give you the 20, just like you would have got if you sold it with an agent, right?
Yeah.
And then that works for me, because then I take over the loan. I only have to come up with $20,000 to pay you plus some closing costs. Then I can turn around and rent the property and do what we do.
Okay, let me stop it there. So let me explain a little bit about what I'm doing here, because not everybody does this with creative finance, but what I found is most sellers, when you explain that you're willing to do creative, they automatically are confused at why you would pay top price. So what I help them do is I help them understand, look, I try to create a disparity between the cash and then creative. And the way that I do that is I say, look, if I were to come in with all cash, because that cash is expensive and I got to go to my investors, or if I get new financing, I'm going to be paying a way higher rate, I would have to be significantly lower. But if you're okay with me taking over your payment, I can pay your number. For me anyway, I feel like that helps the seller understand why you're even offering and willing to offer retail.
I think that's super important too, because guys, when you're having conversations with sellers, especially if you're going into something that's complicated, I think people think that the solution for creative finance is to break down all of the legal details, right? Because that's what's going to make people feel better. And it's not, right? They don't need that 99 times out of 100. What they need is it just needs to make sense. Make it make sense. Okay, well, here's why. On a simple level, if I do it this way, here's what happens. And give them a valid justification. People just need it to make sense. And it's really not that complicated. So separating that, it's powerful.
And you get to go and move on in life.
Okay. I'm just trying to. So I got to my balance. It's only $1,000 more. It's $211,487.
211.
Yeah, that's fine.
So.
Yeah, I'll still pay you 20.
How long if I got to speak to the wife when I get home first, but if we agree to all this, how long will it take to get done, and how fast do I got to move out of the property?
Okay, so he's asking a question here now, right? His question is how long to close. Okay, now, how would you answer that right now? If you're listening to this right now, your job is to solve problems. He's asking me, well, how long does all this take? How long till we close?
You're living in there now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You tell me. We can do it whenever it's convenient for you. I mean, ideally 30 days. Is that enough time?
Well,
Okay, so I said, when it's convenient for you, how's 30 days sound? So now I'm going back into questions to try to understand what's important to you. If he tells me 60 days, okay, 60 days, right? Because again, my job is to solve his problems and make this convenient for him.
So I had a piece of property when all this shit was happening. Fell through. They sold it, which pissed me off because it was 5 acres, pretty nice property. So I'm just trying to I'm gonna have to look for another piece of property, see what price range I can get it at, if I could get it a good deal, and then get everything moved out into it, or finding an RV for a little bit to put on the property until we do all that. I'm just really trying to just get out of the payment life. I'm trying to own
Again,
shit.
get out
I'm
of the
trying
payment.
to get cash. That's why I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me kind of summarize what he's saying here. I think he wants to buy some land and put an RV on it. He needs some cash to buy the land and put an RV on it. And this is like rural Texas is at here. And I want to get out of my payment. And so whenever I'm dealing with a seller and it's occupied, their next move is very important to me. Because think about it. If it's vacant, it's easy. No one's there, we close, not a problem. But if someone's living there, sometimes that's resistance because they got to pack, they got to move, they don't know where they're going. And so now it becomes very important to me in my information gathering and questioning to know where, when we sell, when we close, what are you doing? Where are you going? I need to know if that's a problem I need to solve.
And here's the thing, guys, imagine if you knew the sellers personally or you had insight into their personal circumstance, then a lot of times what we would offer, the way we would approach the conversation would change because we have more insight. We wouldn't be as surface level in our conversations. But this is why the active listening, and this is why really paying attention makes a big difference, because what it does, if you listen and you ask good questions, is you start to get the insight into their circumstance. And so what I hear when I hear this guy is, one, at the very beginning, he said payment was his thing, right? We both caught that. We both picked up on that. Okay, that's where we're focusing. Well, now he's bringing it up again. So what that tells me is this is a conversation you're having in your life on a daily basis. This is what you talk to your wife or your friends and your family about it, okay? Well, now you're saying that payment, you want to get out of the payment life. You want to go get a piece of land. You want to go put an RV on the piece of land. You don't really care. Okay, well, now I'm getting a profile as to the type of person that I'm dealing with. And this type of person has certain things that are and are not important to them. And so now I can start to tailor what I'm offering to a thing that's something that's important to this person. This guy is not going to be impressed by a nice fancy car or a nice Chanel bag. He doesn't care about stuff like that. He wants you to have his problem solved. He wants it to be simple. And he wants to be able to go and live his life. And so when you tailor your conversation like that, what happens? He starts to feel understood. He starts to trust you. This is why it's so important, because when you begin to get a feel, a sense of what's happening. Now you're solving the problem that they have, not the problem that you think they have. And what happens is when you start to address what they have according to their need, they start to feel understood, they start to feel safe, and that's how they want to do the deal with you and not anybody else.
Yeah, and it's really like overcoming objections. So he presented an objection by saying, how long does this take? Now, a seller doesn't ask, when do we close, unless he's concerned about when we close.
That's what they call buying questions. In this case, selling questions.
Selling questions, yeah. But why is he asking that question? He's asking that question because it's a concern of his. Maybe he wants to close sooner. Maybe he wants to close later. I don't know. So now I have to go back into discovery. I have to find out, well, why? Why are you even asking this? Now he's talking about land and an RV, and I'm just listening. I'm trying to understand what's going on here.
You know, one of the things I love that you did there, and it's crazy, guys. Here's one of the things I want to really emphasize. When you do this enough time, you'll begin to realize that there's universals that just stick. Never done a seller call with you. We've never, this is a very new thing. So many of the things you do are exactly how I would phrase them. Here's what's crazy. When I give these examples to people, like in my course, they're like mind blown, like, oh my, I would have never thought about doing that. One of the things that you did, in my head, the most natural response is, how long does it take to close? How long do you need?
How long do you need?
Because I want to understand what's important to you. It's not about me. It's not about Jerry. It's not about you guys. It's about the seller. And when you can genuinely convey that, you'll realize your questions start changing, and it starts to change the answers and the trajectory of the conversation.
Yeah, like when I say, is 30 days enough time? I'm going to find out if no, it's got to be sooner or no, it's got to be later. Like we'll start to uncover things.
Not everybody wants to close in 5 days.
Not everybody does. Yeah. So let's see how because I think he goes on more about this.
At least that 20 grand, 30 grand, because even acreages it's coming down, I've seen, but it ain't cheap, you know?
Yeah. So you want to buy some land? You want to buy some land that you can build on or RV on, or is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm getting so
questions.
Like, my housing, I spend about 25, maybe $3 grand a month with all the utilities, internet, the house payment. Try to save that up, and there's cheap mobile homes out there. Like I said, I'm just trying to get it where I own the shit. So,
Well, what would be best for you?
Okay, so here's what I'm gathering. He wants that 20 grand, and with 20 grand, he wants to buy a lot and a mobile home or an RV and get out of all of his like housing expense. Did you guys gather that? I mean, is that what you gathered?
That's it.
That's kind of what I gathered.
Maybe kind of start living off the land, not have to worry about anything.
So that's kind of where, and then I asked a question. So is what you're trying to do this? So that's the thing, guys. When they say something, don't automatically think that you know what they just said. Make sure you're comprehending. Ask a question. Recap what they just said and ask a question. I asked so many questions. I bet you if you took this 18-minute call, I might have asked 50 questions, 100 questions. I'm just constantly trying to understand.
Guys, and one thing I really focus on this. I think a lot of times a newer person would have started this call, and what they would have heard, if they even got to the number as quickly as you did, 265, I can't do 265. What about 265? Yeah. But all of a sudden, magically, we're not talking about $265,000. We're talking about $20,000.
All we're talking about is 20 grand.
So
That's all we're talking about here.
It just in 5 minutes is a $20,000 deal.
It's $20,000 is all it takes. That's such a good point because you get down to the core of it.
That's exactly it.
You need 30 days or longer than 30 days? So are you thinking like 60 days? I mean, I'll make it convenient for you as long as I know we got a deal.
Yeah. If everything, if the wife's good with it, I'm gonna talk to her when I get home. I'm about to be on the way home, and if she's good with it, I'm down to sign everything. I don't know if I get the money after I move out or how y'all do that.
I'm down to sign everything.
Whatever, pay me whatever.
For some land and
get
that in the books to get that ready.
Yeah, what you'd want to do is whenever we close, that's when we bring the cash to the closing. And then you would get it at the closing when we transfer ownership, from you to me. Then you'd walk out with 20 grand. So what you could do is line up your next thing to happen. As long as it happens after our closing, then you're fine, right? Because then you'll have the 20 grand.
Okay, so what am I doing? I'm trying to overcome this objection of his next move. And I'm trying to tell him, look, you can go find that land you want, line it all up, close right after we close, and you could take the cash and go buy the land and put your RV on it or whatever you want to do. And so again, I'm just trying to then solve a problem.
Correct. Now let me ask you, is the 20 grand the highest? Y'all got to make a profit.
Okay, so he asked me, is 20 grand the most you can pay?
Yeah.
Typical question, right?
Sure.
Like, is that the best?
Yep.
I mean, I always ask, is that the lowest you can take? He's asking, is that the highest you'll pay? And then, so guys, if you get asked that question, you're going to get asked that question. Yep. How would you answer that? Pause right now and think, what would I say if that were me right now? What would I say? Because that's going to happen.
Look good in numbers. Is 20 grand like hey man, this is it? Or
yeah.
Now, before, I was just thinking here, I already know he'll take 20. How do I know that?
Because he said it.
Because he said, I had it under contract at 250, which means he would have made 20.
And here's the thing, he already started here. I'm big on psychology, right? Let's understand the person. Who are you dealing with? So now that I understand his profile, he's the type of person, he doesn't want the payments. He kind of wants to get out there, maybe live off the land, kind of do his own thing, be unhinged from the things. Okay, cool. We already know how much he was willing to take. So we had his bottom dollar at the beginning of the conversation, but something else happened. A little bit into the conversation, he got excited and started planning based on the money. If I think he said 15,000, 20,000, that's perfect.
Yeah.
But then what happened? Well, he's not stupid. So he's like, oh, wait, hold on. Maybe I left a little bit of money on the table. But here's the thing. Most new people are going to get nervous and they're going to hear that as, oh, shoot, now he wants more money. I'm losing the deal. Maybe this isn't going to work. And what's going to happen is you will respond like that. You're going to get nervous in your responses. He's going to stand his ground. And that's how you start losing these deals. What you need to do is you need to stay in control of this conversation. Yeah. Recognize that he already gave you his bottom dollar, right? I don't know what you're going to respond with, but my guess is this is the direction you have to go. I can project where Jerry's going to go because there's certain rules that work in this game. And this is what you have to listen for.
Yeah. So guys, I don't give him more money, but listen to how I don't give him more money. Okay.
20 grand? Yeah. My boss, Justin, he's a ball buster.
You know Justin? It was
Tumanowski?
Yeah, Tumanowski, yeah. So here's what I did, and I do this quite a bit, is if I'm the decision maker, then I'm the bad guy.
Yep.
So if he wants more than 20 grand and it's up to me to give him more than 20 grand, now I just created an adversarial relationship and I'm trying to create a trusting relationship.
Sure.
So I was very playful about this. Now I was messing around because Justin was on the Zoom and I could see him on my screen. I was just trying to be funny and play with him. But I'll do a similar type of thing where, hey, I'm not the decision maker here. Now, you don't have to do it this way, and not everybody maybe does it this way, but what I want to do is I want to remove me from being the bad guy.
Guy, he's tough. Because you have to understand, I've got to bring an investor in for the money, right? For the 20 grand.
Yeah.
And my boss, Justin, he's going to be all over me about this because, you know, you want to be in at a low enough percentage of the purchase. And so I'm paying $250. So 20 grand is actually kind of high for where we like to be on the.
So 20 is actually kind of high. You know, like that's where I'm coming. So can you pay me more than 20? Well, actually 20 is kind of high.
Yeah, guys, I have not heard this conversation. You know what will probably happen 95 times out of 100 people like this? They're going to shoot their shot, as they should. Then they're going to say, oh, okay. And then, you know, they may sound a little disappointed.
Can you do 25?
Can you do this? Right?
Yeah.
And they're going to try, but then at the end of the day, if you can make it make sense, they start to realize, well, hey, I was already here. I was okay with this in the first place. But the key to this, guys, here's the key. And I don't know what you guys answered in your WWJD, what would Jerry do? in your what would Jerry do question a couple minutes ago. But when you hear questions like this, understand that it doesn't matter what you do. There's a rule that I have in sales. 2 most important things in every single conversation. Do you want to take a shot, guess at what they are?
No, I'm curious.
Confidence and control.
Okay.
Confidence and control.
So true.
Without that, you may stumble upon a deal.
Yeah.
But you're not consistently controlling the deal. But with those things, you can take everything else away. Yeah. You give me confidence and control, I can get any deal done.
Yeah, and I'm totally in control,
Yep.
and I'm totally confident about this, where I'm going, right? And you can feel it, he feels it. Whereas if you're all timid and, how much more would you want? I didn't once say, how much more would you want? Or will you take 25? Nothing.
On these, but it looks like a nice property. You know, it looks like a great area, great neighborhood. Is the condition like?
It is. Like, I can move out and you can have people move in.
Are you leaving any furniture?
Huh?
Are you leaving any furniture?
I'll tell you right now, and you can take this back to him. If you bump it up to 30, I will leave everything in the fucking house. TVs, furnitures, beds. I'll leave all that shit in there.
Does it look like these pictures on Zillow?
No, it's so those pictures on Zillow is when I first bought the house. The only difference is we put tile in bedrooms and we pulled out carpet. So the carpets are out of the room.
I mean, we'll take a look at it because maybe we Airbnb it or something like that. I don't know yet, but maybe we'll take your furniture.
Yeah. So here's how maybe we'll take your furniture, because now he's telling me I'll leave the furniture. All right, well then I want to solve problems. If you don't want your furniture, we'll deal with your furniture. But now I'm not buying his furniture unless it's a deal, obviously.
Well, and here's the thing. I think that's a smart question. I don't know if this is why you did it. Saying something, oh, well, you're going to leave the furniture. What happens is, this is something that's big for me, right? I'm big on integrity in my conversations. I'm big on integrity in life. And there's a lot of people who'll do kind of like the white lie, or they'll paint pictures, they'll do story selling in sales, and that's fine. But for me, I've always looked at this as, I want to challenge myself to be the best. How do I just tell the truth in a creative enough way that it's not shocking, even if the truth is shocking? Because I have this philosophy that a bad truth is better than a good lie. So but it's all about how I communicate that. So when you have, let's say, for example, and this isn't how this went, obviously, but let's say you had said, $20,000 is my bottom dollar, that's all I can do. And then later you say, I can do 25. Well, now your integrity's shot. But when you say something like, well, what about that furniture? What you're doing is you're padding in that integrity. You're giving yourself, just like everything else, giving yourself a reason to make it okay that makes sense to them.
Yeah, exactly. And we know he's moving into an RV, and I'm looking at Zillow and the house is fully furnished. So maybe I'll pay a little bit more, but do I get all the furniture? You know, I'm trying to go down that road.
Give you a number on it, I don't know.
Yeah. No. I agree there.
So I said, I don't know, I'll give you a number on it. We can talk about it.
But if I can get you 20 grand and I can be flexible when we close, so it's convenient for you, and we take over your loan, I mean, the only, I got to go back to my boss, Justin, and his partner, Dan. You should see that guy.
Yeah.
He's bald. He's like always frowny and mad.
I remember that.
He's bald. He's always frowning. He's mad.
Mad about something.
Oh yeah, I know how that is.
You know how bosses are, right? In fact, I think he's looking over my shoulder right now.
You were
I
cracking
love
up.
that.
But I'll tell him this is a 2.65 interest rate, and I think he'll be excited about that.
Yeah, I did buy the house. And
So what I'm doing now is I'm going back to, hey, I got to sell my boss on giving you 20 grand anyway. Like, I don't even know if I can, I'm kind of saying, I don't even know if I can do 20 because I got to make sure that this works.
Yep.
So 25, more than 20? No way. You know, like I'm saying it that way, but I'm definitely building that case and leading it by the way I'm responding.
And this is why the confidence and control is so important. It's one of the foundational aspects of it is because, guys, like most of these people don't do real estate for a living every single day. And even if they did, again, you have to make it make sense. And the more control and confidence you have, what you're doing is you're just setting the stage. People will usually accept what is offered to them if what's offered to them makes sense and is fair, right? And so what you're able to do is when you approach it from this situation, you can renegotiate the deal. The fastest, biggest drop I have, I dropped a deal $45,000 in 4 minutes. Never talked to the
Dropped
guy
on the
before.
price.
Dropped on the price.
Yeah.
Now I've done multiple six-figure drops in 30 or 40 minutes because I don't even have to negotiate those numbers. I just, okay, you want this, but have you thought about this? They'll do that themselves. But that $40,000, $45,000 in 4 minutes thing, why did I do that? Because I approached the conversation with such control that they realized I'm not going to win this argument because what they're saying makes sense.
Yeah.
So do I want to get the deal done or keep wasting my time with these yahoos that are calling me, don't really know what they're talking about. They can't even close on the deal. So when you have the confidence and control, you can drive the conversation wherever you want.
I had a great time. Everybody
Yeah, you
says
did.
every time I tell them my interest rate, they're like, you're a fucking liar. I'm like, I'll screenshot my interest rate and send it to you.
I'll tell you what, I've seen very few 2.65 interest rates. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
And you're on a 30-year fixed, right?
So I was worried he was on a balloon.
Yeah. So that's my saving grace. I think he'll want to do that. Otherwise, he won't let me pay $250, and he definitely won't let me give you 20 grand.
See what I'm doing? There's no way.
Deflecting.
The only
Yeah.
reason why I can even give you 20 is because you got a 2.6 rate. So I'm leveraging the information I've gathered to hold firm at my price.
But
Yeah.
if I can tell him I got a 2.65 interest rate, and if it looks as nice as these pictures, like if it's a great looking property, and we don't have to come in and spend a bunch of money fixing things up, then I can get it done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the only thing that is bad is just a door.
So I've got him completely redirected away from more money.
And he's
not
now
even
selling.
talking.
He's just
back
selling
to
you on the
selling
property.
me on the deal.
Love
I've
it.
redirected it
Jesus.
back. He's now selling me on why I should buy his property.
I gotta replace a door. I had
Okay.
to go
But-
through it. But other than that, everything is.
The roof's good, kitchen's good, floors are like everything else is good.
Roof was just replaced in 2021, so it's a brand new roof.
Great. And tell me again, what was your total payment? $1,500. Your principal, interest, taxes, insurance.
It went down to $1,550.
$1,550. Okay. Yeah, y'all in Texas have to pay a lot of taxes for some reason there.
Yeah, it's stupid as shit.
Property tax.
So yeah,
It's
my
all high
interest
tax.
rate
It's
is
really bad.
2.625%.
2.625.
That's insane.
I don't know if we'll ever see those days again.
No.
The other thing I'm doing here is I'm propping him up, right? So you always want to build up them to be smart and intelligent and making the good decision.
It makes them feel good.
Makes people feel good. If you make people feel good, they want to be with you. They want to interact with you. They want to do business with you because you're making them feel good. If I belittle them or make them feel stupid or I, back them into a corner, then the wall goes back up.
Yep.
Well, hey, I know you got to talk it over with your wife, but here's what I'd love to do. I got a helper over here, and when we hang up, she'll reach out to you, and she can put together an agreement, and it'll just spell out basically what we talked about.
Okay.
But I mean, the thing is if you were already under contract.
Okay. Now's where I'm going down urgency. So one of the reasons why I did say this earlier, one of the reasons why I think I'm really good at closing is I always create a lot of urgency. Because if you don't create urgency, then it's another phone call away and time kills all deals. And I know that. I know that if we hang up this phone and we don't have a deal put in place, then every minute that goes by after that it decreases my chances of getting the contract. So I always look for some way to create urgency. So let's see how I do it.
Contract for 250 and the wife was good with that, and you were going to walk at that number with 20. I don't really see why this would make much of a difference. It's basically the same thing. You're going to walk away with 20 grand in your pocket, no matter either way, whether you did it that way or this way. So it's kind of like, but it's
correct.
Okay, so did you guys catch what I said? So I basically went back to, you were okay to make 20 before. This is the same thing. You're still making 20. It's the same thing. So what is there to talk about with the wife? Because remember, he said, I got to talk it over with my wife. Now, I know and you know that it's sub-2, so that's different than selling it outright. That's probably what he would need to talk to the wife about.
But you still have to shut that door.
But I'm still going back to that objection. And what I'm trying to find out is, if you talk to the wife and she's okay with this, are you ready to go move forward? So I'm just trying to remove the barriers to see if we're serious here.
It's a wash though.
Yeah, it's just talking to her because at first she was iffy about it when I was first doing it, and then she kind of got on board. But not to be a dick to my wife, I love her, but at the end of the day, my name's on that paper, and
I'm alone.
all right, if I can figure out a way to have me and my family have more money and less stress, I'd rather do that.
Yeah, totally. Well, let's get this done then. So I'm gonna assume it goes well with your wife, and I'm gonna have my assistant here, Ella. Her name's Ella.
She was a rock star.
She'll send you a text before she calls, but her name's Ella. She's gonna give you a call and put an agreement together. The only thing is I just got to move kind of quick because my boss, they're like trying to buy a house like really aggressively right now. So if we wait, I might miss out on it, and then I won't. You won't get it, I won't get it, and it'll just kind of be a missed opportunity. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I'm about to buy some shit from my wife here at the store that I'm headed home and talking to her.
Buy her some flowers. Buy her some flowers.
Oh, I already did that the other day.
So now I'm being playful. Just trying to be playful now. Right now what I'm trying to do is solidify my trust with him, solidify our relationship, create more of a bond, help him feel more connected to me connected to him, so that we can get this deal done. Because we're there. We're like there, right?
No, I think she's going to be for it because she wants to. She's been talking about living off the grid and everything. So
try chocolate then. Try chocolate.
Oh no, you never can. So, but no, I'm pretty sure. Let's get the agreement sent out, and I'll show her. Look, we're going to get 20 grand cash or 20 grand a check. That's going to be everything. We don't have to worry about anything. They'll take everything over, and we can start looking for.
So he's selling himself now,
paying cash for everything because I don't want payments. I'd rather do taxes at the end of the year. Great, but I want to try to save some money.
After we get our agreement in place, let me know what you're looking for too, because I know a lot of investors, and we come across a lot of properties. We might be able to find you something you're looking for that fits.
Yeah. So the property I found before
offering solution.
Sale went down last time. It was a 5-acre property. And it had a mobile home already on it that needed to be cleaned up and fixed a little bit. But they was asking for 10 grand down, and I think the total on that was like 150. So that's what I was trying to do there, and it's a little bit down from my house. So I'm looking for that, kind of something like that. But I'm also just, if I can find a property like 5-10 acres in my price range, I'd rather do that, and then I can figure out the living situation after that if I have to. Give me a little bit to find a mobile home and put it on there, So
it's really interesting, as we're gathering information, he's talking about his next play. And the next move for somebody, for me with sellers, is less relevant if it's vacant because it's not impacting them in any way. If they're living in the property, you better make sure you're overcoming any objections about moving out of that property. When are they moving? Are they able to? Do they have the means? Do they have the money? Those all can be things that will kill a deal. And I've had so many times in the past where we just can't get to closing because I can't get that seller to figure out where they're going to go, how they're going to get there, right? So it becomes more relevant when they're living in the property. And it's interesting to hear, what do you think? You're going to buy, what does he say, like 5 to 10 acres with a mobile home for 10 grand. So clearly he's thinking, if I can get 20 out of my house, I'm going to go buy something off the grid or whatever and take care of my housing problem. This is kind of what he explained.
So there's a couple levels to this, and I think most people stop at fact finding. But for me, what's more important than fact finding is profile building. What's the profile of the human being that I'm dealing with? You mentioned something earlier. I called it. How did I know 5 seconds into the conversation that this guy was a prepper and he's wanting to live off the land?
Off the grid, yeah.
Because I listened, right? He wants to go off grid. He wants to, why? Because usually people fit into certain categories. As humans do, there's a handful of types of personalities, and we're going to go into our directions. When you can start building those profiles, it makes it so much easier.
And we're in rural Texas.
Yep.
You can hear he's got like a southern accent. Like he's kind of fitting the profile.
Correct. And so there's layers to mirroring. And it's at the beginning, it's easy, and you probably should mirror tonality and pace. That's important. How fast are they speaking? What's their tone? But when you start getting really, there you go. When you really get into it, it's much more important, in my opinion, to get to that lead, like start understanding their character. And I think when you can do that, then you're really that's when you're really hitting the nerve.
Yeah, good. Well, we've got just like a couple minutes left on this call, and then we'll wrap this up. So let's hear how we end up here.
I have to give me a little bit to find a mobile home and put it on there,
Okay. Yeah, because my investors are probably going to want to try to do something fairly soon. 30, 45 days is fine. So if we could make that work, that'd be great. I mean, I'll be flexible with you, but that'd be great.
Oh yeah, like I said, if the wife says, "Hey, go for it," you can come tomorrow and take my house over and give me the check.
Yeah, you're going to be living off the grid with the Bears if you do this.
Yeah.
Now, do you know why I said Bears? Do you know the story behind that?
No. What, Vina?
So Vina gave me a word to say that I had to say on every call.
Did she really?
So if you listen to these calls, I say bear, and it's totally out of context sometimes.
Yeah.
That was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, that was good.
You're living with the Bears. I don't even know if there's Bears in Texas, but that's why I said that. It made no sense, but that's why.
That's what
But guys, you know what? Like, I see people that do sales and they do calls, and they're all stressed out and wound up. And I have so much fun talking. I think people are fascinating. They're interesting. I like talking to people. And if you can't get your head around that and have fun with this,
You're going to quit.
you're going to quit.
You're
You're
not
going to
gonna
quit every
make it.
time. And I can tell instantly. I'll talk to like some of my students, and I can just see this anxiety and this stress and this. And I'm like, there's no way you're going to be on the phones all day with that attitude.
Yep.
And
You
it
gotta
comes
mix it
through.
up.
People feel it. If you're bringing that energy to your calls, they don't need to see you. They feel it.
1,000,000%.
we kind of want, and I want to do that. And so, do what you got to do on your end. It's like a 90% deal. Sure.
Well, let's do this. Why don't we do you want to get your wife on the phone and I'll just explain to her the deal?
Oh, no, I'm going to have to talk to her like in private. I'm telling you, I'm not the guy, let me talk to my wife and never call you back. I'm going to call you back.
So that was my worry, and he actually
Picked up on it.
Because people use, I got to talk to my spouse as an objection. And it's not a real objection. They use it as a way to get off the phone, right? So you guys are going to hear that all the time. I got to talk to my lawyer, got to talk to my wife. So you really need to be able to work through those things. Otherwise, you're going to just, talk to your wife, and then you never hear from them again. Do you have any ideas on, how do you navigate around? I got to talk to my lawyer, I got to talk to my wife.
It's going to be a case by case, and I want to give a summary once we finish with this call of it. But yeah, there's a couple ways I go about doing it. And sometimes if they're talking to a lawyer, I'll ask them, I'm so sorry, Jared. Did I do something to lose your trust in this conversation?
Yeah.
And because it's a pattern interrupt question, they're like, no, what do you mean, right? Well, because normally when somebody says something like that, it means I may have done something. And it lets them realize the gravity of what they requested.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's just one of many alternatives.
Yeah. Now I think he legit actually needed on this one. And the reason why is because I keep coming back around to it. He keeps saying a little bit more. So guys, I'm trying to uncover, is the wife thing real? Is he just saying that?
And that's important. You need to isolate the objection. You need to understand what's actually happened. Otherwise, you're going to get blindsided, and you're going to get people that never call you back because you didn't actually find out.
I'm going to call you back because I want to get out of this house. So
I just don't want you to screw it up, Johnny, and I'll be able to explain it to her really good.
So I'm having fun here. So
That's
you
good.
guys catch
I love
it. I
that.
said I
That
want you
was
to, because we're talking SUBTO.
Yep.
So when he sits down with his wife, I know
love
he's
that.
not going to pitch it right.
I love that. I don't want you to screw it up.
Oh, yeah, no, I won't.
Okay.
Or you know what? When I get home, I'll probably call you. What time do you want?
That's what happened.
Yep.
Is this your cell phone or work number?
Yeah, it's my work number, but I'm going to be around for a while. I'm on a later time zone.
Okay, yeah, I'm 3 o'clock here. I'm here. Then I gotta get this, and I got about an hour drive home, so I'll be home about 4:30, 5 o'clock. And when I get home, I'm gonna call this number back and talk to you, and I'll let you talk to her.
Okay, perfect. Because then I can make sure she's comfortable and answer any questions and all that. In fact, maybe what we do is Ella, my helper, she'll love her. Ella's super nice, and she could talk to you. Ella.
That's my daughter's name.
Oh yeah, ELLA.
Yep, ELLA. Yep.
Yeah, Ella's the best. Yeah, she's super nice, and she can talk to your wife and make sure she's comfortable with everything. I mean, it's a little different what we're doing, but it's a great solution.
Yeah. And I know she's just gonna freak out like, oh, we need to find something, we need this and that, and that's the part she freaks out about because we got 5 kids and everything, so she's just gonna freak out about that.
Kids.
Wow. Yeah.
What's that like having 5 kids?
5 kids in an RV.
Yeah, that's why we got the house.
5 kids.
So what's that like having 5 kids? Should have been like, that's it?
Wow, 5. What's that like having 5 kids?
That's why we got the house. It's a 5-bedroom, 2-bath house. So
And you're gonna move them on some property with the Bears.
Yep. Correcto mundo.
Man, you're gritty, dude.
So, but yeah, let me do this and then I'll give you a call back.
Okay, let's get it done. Appreciate you, Johnny. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right. Can I give a full breakdown on this thing?
Overall, your thoughts.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna break this down from a couple of perspectives because I love this call a lot. And what I want to do is, if you're cool with it, I want to break down what you did, and then I'd like to present some alternatives for different personality types.
Great, love it.
Okay, so first and foremost, one thing I notice about you on the call, there's a couple of things that stand out about you. One, you're extremely likable. You do a great job of mirroring their personality type to a degree that they feel like they're just talking to a buddy. That's very intentional. I can hear the way you do certain phrases, the phrases that you use, the questions that you ask. It's intentional. Now, why is that important? Well, guys, a lot of you guys, especially when you're new, you hear somebody like a Jerry in conversations, and you'll be like, oh, well, well, that's just him. No, it's not just him. Yes, it is just Jerry to a degree, but everything Jerry did in that conversation was very intentional. Some people think that a good salesperson is one that just sounds, they got the one-liners and they have the phrases locked up and they
give
just
the gab.
Yeah, that's really not what it is. Mm-hmm. As a general rule, in my experience, the best closers in the game sound like they're just having a conversation. But what you don't hear is they're underneath all of that, they're plotting their questions 3 or 4 questions ahead. They're listening to what they're saying. They're saying things in certain ways, and I can hear you doing that in the conversation. The way you make jokes, you do a fantastic job of making people feel special. Mm. And so as a result, it allows you, so let's go to the next step. It allows you to get away with things that other people wouldn't. Mm. So one example is you're like a dog with a bone on this deal. Where you're like, okay, well, let's do this. Well, no, let's get your wife. Let's do this. Let's do that. Some of you guys will hear that and you'll say something like, oh, well, I can't do that because I don't want to sound pushy. And the reality is you might sound pushy. The reason Jerry gets away with it is because he knows when to pull back. He knows when he's gone half of a centimeter too far, and he knows how to pull it back. He knows how to deflect and make a joke. So that way that uncomfortable feeling that starts getting pulled up. So what happens if you want to do that and you're not Jerry? What do you do as an alternative? Pace is a good example of an alternative. Pace very rarely sounds that interested in the conversation. Pace will actually do the opposite. And he'll be like, I'm not your buyer. I'm not your buyer. I'm not your buyer. And he goes so far into the takeaway that I'm like, bro, you're about to lose this deal. I don't even think you want the deal. And I know you actually want the deal. So those are 2 different sides of the spectrum. Pace, as an example, will be like, I don't want the deal. I don't want it at all. Just leave me alone. Stop talking. Why are you still talking to me? I don't want this house. I already told you I don't want the house. And then Jerry's like, but why do you need to talk to your wife? I'm better than your wife. You're going to mess this up, dude. Let me do the deal. How do you guys both pull that off? It's because you guys, in my opinion, are comfortable enough in your skin that you said, this is the strategy that I'm going to take, but I know when to course correct if I need to. Well, what happens if you're not Jerry Norton or Pace Morby? What do you do? I would suggest maybe find the balance. What's the balance? I think there's a couple things you can do for balance. One, this goes back to knowing yourself. Know what your comfort level in communication is. Jerry's good enough with that aggressive, jovial approach because he understands that when the room gets a little bit awkward, he can make a joke and he can make it right. So if you guys have been the type of personality, you're the life of the party, you're the person in the room that kind of controls the room when you walk in there, or you're really good at navigating those things, then maybe you'll feel comfortable taking a Jerry approach because you know that you can redirect if you need to. But if you're new to this, and you're not sure how to navigate those conversations, you're not sure, what I would say is I would be a little bit middle of the road in those conversations. So what does that sound like? So when we're talking about, let's go straight to the close. Let's go all to the point. You started out, you asked him for the number out of the gate. Step one, I think that's a great idea. Get to the elephant in the room. Guys, the hard questions are usually where the gold is. Ask the hard questions. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be uncomfortable, but it's even more awkward when they ghost you and you don't get a deal. Ask the hard questions.
Or you spend a half an hour and they don't even want to sell
and
their
they don't
house.
even want to talk to you. Exactly. So be okay out of the gate getting all of the information. But let's get to the end. So we're talking about that close. One thing that I deploy as a rule for myself, it's a rule on my acquisitions team. It's called the if I could, would you? What's the if I could, would you? It's a good way to be able to get the commitment from the seller that Jerry got if you don't have the same ability to navigate higher pressure or those types of jovial conversations. So what does that sound like? We're getting to the end. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, that sounds good. Can you do 15? Can you do 25? Can you do 30? I'm not answering any. Well, I'll probably do the pull act. I don't know if I can do that. I'm not sure that's going to work. Let's do this. You want to talk to your wife. You want to do all these things. Let me ask you a question. If I can do $20,000 today,
Would you do it?
are you signing today, or that's it? So that's with the if I could, would you? And here's how I normally phrase it. I'll say, if I can do this today, you got to talk to your wife. But if I can get this done on my side, because I'm not sure, to be completely honest, and then I'm throwing some issues about the deal. To be completely honest with you, you already listed this once and it didn't sell. I understand that things popped up, but what that usually tells me is there might be something wrong with the property. There might be more going into this that I'm not expecting, but that's okay. Here's my question. If I'm able to get this done for you today, are you guys signing today, or is there something else that you need to think about?
Mm-hmm. You're uncovering the objection right
and
there.
I'm uncovering it, and I'm asking that second half. I'm not just asking if you're signing today. And I don't care if you say, yeah, I'm signing today. Okay, you're signing today. If I can do this, are you sure you're signing today, or is there something else? I'm asking if there's something else to uncover that. And then I'm going to use that as, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Ideally, is there a way we can put this on hold and have this conversation now? Because I've been doing this for a long time. It's very complicated explaining this. I don't want you to explain it. You get your wife scared, So this is a middle of the road approach that you can take as an alternative. And then, yeah, that's that. If I could, would you? Works every time.
The other thing I like about that is it makes it non-aggressive so that they can answer honest. Because when you say, like, I'll say it like that, and I'll add a little piece to it. I'll say, if I could, and I don't know if I can.
That's it. I don't know if I can.
But if I could, are you ready to do this today? And now what that does is it takes the pressure off of them where they're like, okay, well, hypothetically, and since we're being hypothetical, I'm going to be honest about where I'm at right now. Whereas if you're like, sign right now, what's the problem? Now they're in a pressure situation. It takes some pressure off when you say, I don't even know if I can, but if I could, where are you at?
So what's the emphasis here, guys? Now that we're peeling back the layers, if you will, on sales conversations, we use the PACE example where he's all the way back. I'm not your buyer. I'm not your buyer. Next thing you know, they're chasing him down.
Yeah.
You got you where you're like, dude, just why do you need to talk to your wife? I'm cuter than her. Why don't you just sell me the house today? And then you got this option of the middle. What's the point? What's the takeaway? Guys, there is more than one way to skin this cat, right? You just have to be comfortable in your approach, but whatever approach you choose, commit and approach it with control and confidence, because that's how you get to the end of these conversations and get people saying, no, I promise you, I'm genuinely serious. I'm going to do this. I'm going to follow up. I really want to get this deal done.
Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Do me a favor, in the comments below, let me know what you thought about this video. Let me know what you would like to see from this channel going forward. That being said, in the meantime, take a look at one of these videos around here. And until then, I'll see you in the next one.